After waking up in the wilderness, Kless and Mint find that Chester unfortunately didn't make the trip, but his broken bow and arrow did. Not wasting any time, our team heeds Phoenix's words, and they set out to find someone who can teach them magic. Unfortunately, there's just one problem with that. Humans are entirely incapable of using such powers, as magic is native to the elves, and half-elves. So the task of finding a human who can teach them to use sorcery, let alone to be able to use it themselves, would be next to impossible. Thankfully, all is not entirely lost. You make your way to the nearby village where you have this same discussion with the elder, whom thankfully is nice enough to aid you in your quest. He admits sorcery is out of their reach, however informs you that a man named Clarth is developing a way for humans to get around this problem. Once again, luck is on your side, as he happens to be in the next village over.
Here we find our newest member to the team, Clarth. A well-educated man with a firm attitude, but with a temper because he has a very low bullshit tolerance. Yet despite our efforts to tell him why we need his help, he's none too eager to offer any without compensation. Or at the very least until his girlfriend gets in his face. He then plays the McFly route, claiming no one calls him a chicken, and then decides to help you after all. But he does at the least break down information to us, as well as explains why sorcery is such a taboo thing.
You see, sorcery is an art form that unfortunately will never be able to be used by humans, because it's a form of magic which only belongs to the elves. However, Clarth has managed to create an alternative, which is called summoning. To do this, he needs a pact ring in order to make a pact with a summon spirit. Spirits being, like spiritual beings among the certain elements. And if you can actually come in contact with one while having the ring that goes with the spirit, you can come up with a deal so that the spirit can serve under the bearer as master and servant sort of thing and have the spirit fight for him in battle.
No one cares. Get on with it.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Clarth continues that the first elemental spirit to obtain is the Sylph, aka the wind spirit, who...
Get on with it!
Alright, fine, jeez! Kless, Mint, and Clarth travel up to meet with a man named Bart who lives below the Lone Valley Mountain, and who also happens to possess a rune ring that Clarth needs for the ritual and is willing to exchange it to him if we can do Bart a favor in return, which is to find his missing daughter, whom he thinks went up to the mountain alone. We agree to help him out, and we get the rune ring in order for Clarth to continue the summon. Now apparently there's a loose poison called miasma that's causing the Sylph to go crazy in this area, which results in pretty easy mini-boss fights whenever you find them scattered around the area. We tread through the cave, seal up the puddles of miasma, and run away from the devils because, well, they're far too powerful for us to even think about, and we end up saving the day. After the Hell on the Hills, we meet the Sylph Wind Spirit at the top, whose resolve is to agree to the pact with Clarth. They say some mystical mumbo-jumbo, and boom, Clarth can now summon the Wind Spirit. So far, this is going well. Along the way, Sylph informs through exposition that mana is the source of all power and life in the world, and that his may be limited by the recent extensive amounts of mana that has been abused lately. He then states that we need to see the goddess Martel at the great mana tree, Yggdrasil. It doesn't take long for the goddess to appear, and then she demands that you hear her words. She explained that all the source of lives comes from this single tree alone, and that it's beginning to die because once again, mana is being abused. Clarth, however, finds all of this information quite ridiculous to believe.
Do you really expect us to just accept a claim like that?
Clarth, what are you doing?
You doubt me?
Seek proof. You don't ask the Almighty for his ID.
Regularly, the use of magic wouldn't consume much mana, according to Martel. Well, not enough for it to be a problem anyway. So something else is causing it to guzzle it at an alarming rate. Clarth begins to assume a more powerful spirit would be able to provide them more help. So he enlightens us that Luna is the best of the bunch, so if we get a pact with her, it would be very beneficial. Unfortunately, her pact ring resides within the mines of Moria, home of the old Dwarven settlement. Wow.
So, Gene, what do you think about the story so far?
I think the estate of J.J.R. Tolkien's gonna sue somebody. The team decides to head out to the kingdom of Alvanista. Surely the next move will be easily pointed out once there. But of course, that doesn't mean we can't run into trouble along the way. Insert Rhea Scarlet. Kless and friends find her in a town that was recently obliterated. She details that a sorcerer named Demeter caused it and killed her parents. Clark could care less, but Kless and Ment sympathize, from having recently become orphans too. So without hesitation, they agree to help her exact her revenge by murdering the son of a bitch in cold blood.
Whoa! Damn!
Oh, what do you expect? Look, they're already on the resort island that he named after himself. Cheeky bastard. So after raiding his mansion for goods, destroying his lawn, which surprisingly can fight back, we find the sorcerer in his basement. Fortunately, with his pants on. Shoot, man, you don't want to know what I'd probably be doing in my secret basement when all of a sudden 4 strangers ran in on me. Shockingly, he's staring at himself in the mirror. Huh. Well, that was easy. After ridding the world of, him, Rhea reveals that she was a ghost possessing the body of her friend until her unfinished business was concluded. She thanks you and drifts to heaven, or hell, I don't know, leaving behind the body she possessed, and when you know it, this happens to be the missing girl that Bart was looking for.
You return her to her father, and all is well. But before heading off, the pink-haired girl comes out and requests to join you on your pilgrimage. This lovely girl's name is Archie, a young half-elf with an excitable attitude and the ability to use sorcery as well as fly on her magic broomstick. Like Clarth, she can be easily annoyed, but mostly because she comes off as immature. Well, be that as it may, we're glad to have her aboard. Finally, you can move forward and make your way to the kingdom of Alvanista. But you gotta sail a ship to get there.
And so they went!
While sailing and dealing with the stresses of the entire world's fate depending on you, Clarth takes advantage of the entire trip and gets hammered.
Well, of course! Wouldn't you?
And hey, wouldn't you know it, loose lips sink ships. Among the drunks, Clarth learns that a single heir to the throne is possessed by one of Douse's minions. Oh, good to know. Meanwhile, elsewhere, another of Douse's evil minions makes an attempt to assassinate Kless. Yeah, but he's the screwed one. By this time, I had already gained 10 whole levels in experience points, so this fight didn't last long.
You've killed me!
After that boss fight, we finally arrive at the kingdom of Alvanista.
Oh look! Treasure!
Oh, get out of the way, you damn crab!
Ah! Test of wits.
Yeah, well, this is boring. Moving on. Clark discusses with Kless, Mint, and Archie that the Prince of Alvanista has apparently been under the spell of Douse's minions for quite some time, but it hasn't gone public. And since it's along the way, and probably would be helpful in the long run, they should do their part to release him. After all, it could work in their favor in the long run. Makes sense to me. Although the entrance isn't entirely an option for us, we should count ourselves lucky as we do happen to have a woman here with a broomstick capable of flying us all to the top.
Now this very small part of the game is actually kind of annoying in itself because it's a very simple goal. You're in a small room with a simple objective. All you gotta do is sneak past these guards, but it still doesn't help being a thorn in my side.
These guards are badass, man. Solid Snake would be screwed trying to be stealthy around here. These guys got eyes in the back of their skull. And every time you get caught, Kless bolts to the start of the room. Again, it's a very simple goal, and through dumb luck, you could either make it on the first try, but if you're just unlucky, this could take far longer than it needs to be. Ugh! Fuck! Oh, what the hell? He's not even on the same screen! Alright, so if I slowly sneak up on... Bullshit!
What? We made it? What did we do different? I mean, all I did was just walk over there. I guess the guards don't mind assassination attempts.
After sneaking in the prince's room, the team quickly figures out that it's the bird controlling. Instead of giving us the bird, she transforms into a whatever the hell that is, causing us to fight to the death. And after plucking her feathers, our prince returns to normal. After looking at our brave heroes, he decides to give us a gift. And what is it?
A new car!
No! He actually sends our asses to the dungeon for trespassing. And the only thing Archie is worrying about is eating the prison food. Luckily, Clarth anticipated that the king and friends would probably notice the Prince Layard return to normal and request your presence. The team explains their intentions, which are to collect the pact rings in order to form alliances with the spirits, which you will use then to defeat Daus. And to my surprise, the king is actually quite generous, and is willing to aid you in any way possible, because apparently you all share a common enemy. The king details that his kingdom Alvanista and the neighboring one Midgard really hate that demon king and would rather see him dead, not to mention he's practically started a war on the other continent. The King's Sorcerer's Lungrum also offers his aid, telling you that you can talk to his friends to gain better magic spells, as well as information on where the different spirit elements are. Lastly, the King grants you permission via slip to enter the mines of Moria. And look, he even has presents. A dark tomb, don't ask, and the Gungnir, a weapon used in the ancient Ragnarok war. So upon leaving, we raid through the King's stuff for belongings. Sad to say, he's broke as a damn joke. Now, my friends, this is the part of the game that escapes linearity. You see, our options are plentiful, and since we've discovered the location of the spirits, it's now us as the players to decide where to go first. You could head to the mines of Moria, but you're not gonna get too far, as you will need items that you can only obtain after completing trials in other dungeons. So my only advice is to save the mine for last. Not only because you can't complete it without necessary key items, but it's also harder than Godzilla's dick and just as long.
Now, I know what you're probably thinking. With the ability to free roam around the world at any given time, especially with all the dungeons that are optional, wouldn't the difficulty spikes get out of hand? Well, you'd think so, but actually no. The game actually does a fairly good job keeping everything balanced to your current level, at least for the time being.
So it never really puts anything against you that you shouldn't be able to handle outright. Hell, if you mess up, well, it's kind of your fault. Alright, so after gathering the information on where the spirits reside, it's up to you to get there. Well, it kind of sounds a little harder than it is. Fortunately, it's not too hard to figure out. You see, if you had skipped the vital information given you by Lundgren, you'd have missed the part that he says about going into the alchemy room and talking to his allies, whom give you subtle hints about the locations to tread. And trust us, without knowing any of this, you'd have been in for some hell and a whole lot of aimless wandering around trying to guess where the hell to go and what the hell to do. While remaining optimistic, we all head to the continent of Freyland, because rumor has it that the fire spirit, Efreet, resides here. In the desert? You don't say. No shit. But before heading into any dungeons, of course, the best thing to do is stock on things like life bottles and healing items. And Jesus Christ, what do you guys think I am, made of money? You know, the most f***ed up part about this is that you are going to want these items. It's a shame they literally cost your soul! But these mystic symbols reduces casting time by half. And trust me, in a pinch, you're going to want that. Sad to say, the odds of you gaining that money right now is nigh impossible. Well, not totally, just really not worth the time it would take you right now.
Meanwhile, into the active volcano we go. You know, it just occurred to me that Kless is wearing a bandana, a cape, heavy armor, and a black cloth. The dude must be reeking of sweat and ass right now. I hope you can summon the wind spirit whenever, just to get a pleasant breeze. Whatever, anyway, you'll find the fire dungeon isn't really too difficult to navigate. In fact, it's one of the more linear dungeons you'll come across. Good thing too, because one of the key items you need is in here. Introducing the Sorcerer's Ring. What does this do? Well, has anybody out there watched Captain Planet? Same basic principle. In fact, the Sorcerer's Ring would become a staple item of the rest of the series, so you know it's important. Now, on a side note, it would be right about this time that you notice how often you get into random fights. Now, we all know it comes with the territory with RPGs back in the day, but it was always kind of a feature that would wear on your nerves after a while, especially when there was a lot of backtracking involved. All you really want to do is get from point A to point B without any interruption, except here you're always getting interrupted. Literally, you get barely a few seconds on the field before you're suddenly interrupted with another fight. Now, fights are good because they increase your power the more you do it. But what really becomes a problem is during areas where you have a problem to solve, i.e. puzzle solving. You kind of want to analyze the situation to see what you have to do. But too bad you can't because you're studying the problem at hand, and these aren't quick fights.
Now, this isn't a problem only the Tales games are guilty of. I mean, hell, every RPG series at this time period was pretty much suffering the same problem. But at least here you do get some help.
Like holy bottles. Stocking up on these are a must. Using them will prolong any random battles from interrupting your map time. All of this is a real nitpick anyway. It's part of the game, so you have to adapt, but it's just never fun to deal with, you know? So once you get to the end, you find Efreet, the fire spirit, waiting for a fight. He agrees to join your pact only if you can defeat him. Of course, it always comes down to the fight. Thankfully, earlier on, we managed to pick up an ice sword and an ice tornado spell. So, Efreet ended up bitching up real quick. Efreet then commends us on our mighty strength. Yeah, that's why. And he is now a summon for Clarth.
Yeah!
With the two element spirits on our side, this quest is so far doing well. So our next one is over in the Belladam continent, the village where we started. Yeah, Gnome the Earth Spirit was literally just to the left of it.
Who are we to look a gift horse in the mouth? This is all too convenient for us.
Even more good news, Gnome's dungeon has very little fighting in it. I guess they decided a little breathing room wasn't such a bad thing. So in the meantime, they'll just test your knowledge to see if you can solve a couple of riddles, including a door asking for a password. Which, unless you're an idiot, you should be able to guess what it is. Just spell out password. Going deeper in the cave, you run into a little clay idol, or little known person. I guess he claims that he's lost his way home and wants your help to get there. Since you were going there anyway, you might as well serve as an escort mission while you're at it. Be grateful. By escorting this little guy, this means no random battles for the remainder of the dungeon. Well, save for the visible ones. Yeah, the other gnomes you run into aren't too eager to meet humans. Worse yet, attacking them isn't easy either. So far, only one spell we have manages to do the job. A spell called Tractor Beam, which, well, you'll see. After dropping off the little gnome back with his friends, you're now free to roam about. Yet some of these little guys have some of the rooms blocked off, specifically the ones you need to go into. How do you get in? Well, to our amazement, this ancient underground civilization has a working alarm system.
How the hell does this even begin to work? And this is the past! And these little dirt lovers got electricity for an alarm?
Pulling a fast one, Kless and his friends meet with Gnome. The hell? Where have I seen them before?
Diglett, 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 Diglett.
Oh, alright, I get it. So, same formula. Gnome will join after you defeat him in battle. But how hard could it be to defeat a Oh my shit!
Nukes? Are you freaking serious? We're playing a fantasy game where the spirit of Earth can turn into a nuclear warhead and just bomb your ass?
Seriously? This guy is just constantly dropping anti-aircraft missiles on you like Armageddon. And you can't even deal physical damage to him either. In fact, the only way you can actually really hurt him is to literally just play keep away and use your range attacks like Demon Fang repeatedly. But the problem is staying away from Gnome. You can't really do it too well because he's constantly coming closer, and your team rarely figures out the connection. Don't ask how, but somehow we managed to beat him, and then he agrees to the pact. Phew. Awesome. 3 down. The last spirit to obtain on our list, at least in our order anyway, is Undini, the water spirit. She resides on an island grotto, which we figured out because, again, people were nice enough to hint it. And to get there, we got to take the ship from Venice. The very same boat that we used to go to Demeter's island before. Once inside the grotto, you find that it isn't really hard to navigate as much as it involves draining a lot of water from certain rooms via switches on the walls to allow you to get further down into the dungeon. The problem here is figuring out which switches to pull at the right time, as well as dealing once again with the onslaught of random battles that will slow you down. We shouldn't mind this as much since we do a considerable amount of fighting, so technically we're pretty strong right now, so it's only going to shorten things up the more we do this. In the long run, hell, this game is already impossible to speedrun due to a lot of factors we'll come across later, so there's really no point in trying to speed things up anyway.
Alright, stop. Why is it in video games that water levels are always the things that give us the most headache? I mean, seriously, water levels suck. No matter what game they are. Tales, Zelda, Tomb Raider, I challenge anyone to find a good water level. Seriously, they suck.
Well, there was that one. No.
So after flooding the last room, Undini comes out and threatens to drown you, leading into another boss fight. The only strategy here is to wail on her with fire spells, which is really confusing because shouldn't that be the opposite? I mean, cool, I guess, because at this point we don't have electric anything, so we have to find some way to make this work. Well, okay, once again, we're pretty high on the levels at this point, so she presents no real threat. And we beat her into submission. She calms down and accepts the pact like the others do, joining the pilgrimage.
Well, we definitely deserve a pat on the back. I mean, who would have guessed that 4 little heroes would manage to tame 4 great spirits, and now they're our slaves for life.
After collecting them all, you can now take on the Elite Four at... Oh, wait, wrong game. Go to the Mines of Moria. Here's where the real challenge begins.
We mentioned before that you could have gone to any of these places in any order, almost, well, save for the Mines of Moria. And while yes, technically true, although with the Sorcerer's Ring alone, you could have made your way to the final area in this dungeon. However, without the rest of the spirits, continuing would be impossible. We just kind of strongly recommend saving this one for last, if not out of convenience. Mostly because you'll be strong enough to trash anything in the way, and, well, be stocked up and keeping enemies at bay while you spend lots of time trying to figure out what the hell to do, and which room to go into, and which floors to solve puzzles on, and all these puzzles and motherfucking puzzles, and You think you know annoying? Take the water temple from Ocarina of Time, combine it with the length of Skyward Sword, and you have the Mines of frickin' Moria!
I hate this level, I really hate it, and you know what? It just occurred to me. We haven't exactly saved our game in a couple of hours. It would really suck right now if we just happened to drop dead. Oh, screw you, game. This thing almost just sent me into cardiac arrest.
So finally, after literally hours of running through nothing but black, we reach the end. All that has to be done now is to put the spirits in order. The final puzzle. Jesus, I'm done. Afterwards, you're greeted at the end by the new spirit known as Maxwell, whom leads all 4. But of course, challenges you to a fight. Oh, hell, with all the that I've had to deal with up to now, I'm the scariest person in this room. Bring it on, old man! Powerless before our mighty powers, he accepts defeat and decides for our sake to join us and add his power to ours. Hell, the more the merrier, bring him on. Clarth initiates the pact, and now you can summon Maxwell.
Great. And in the next room, whoa, the mother lode. This is what it's all about. Perseverance, and then the reward. I'm actually satisfied we got the rings that are, well, broken. Yeah, that sucks. But we do get $6,000. That's gotta count for something. Or, oh, whatever. Anyways, after that noise, Kless, Mint, Archie, and Clarth all head back to the Kingdom of Alvanista to tell the good news, or bad news, depending on your point of view. Lungrum is happy to hear of our success in getting all of those spirits, but however the pact ring we need to form an alliance with Luna is broken.
Which could make things a little dicey, but thank the heavens above because Lungrum actually knows someone who can fix the ring.
A man named Edward, who lives just outside of town in his mansion. He gives us a letter to give him, informing him that we're allies. Oh, and at this point, we should mention that Kless is starting to have brain spasms, where random chicks keep telling him that he's not worthy to wield such a weapon. And by weapon, I do mean the Gungnir. You know, the one we've been using up till now. After defeating Maxwell, its power grew, making it even more useful. But the hell with that chick in my head. I'm using whatever weapon I want.
As you get to Edward's mansion, lucky bastard, as luck would have it, he's not home, but his wife, Sif, is. Better than MILF. She informs you that her husband Edward has gone over to the continent of Freyland to look for 4 young travelers who would help him in the upcoming war with Daus. Well, isn't that convenient? We're 4 young travelers with a personal grudge against Daus. It was meant to be. Once you dock at Freyland, trust us, this is where shit gets really ridiculous. And by the way, speedrunners, this is going to be your worst nightmare. At the local inn at the Olive Town, the keeper says Edward was roaming around the desert oasis, and your best bet to find him is to check each of them. After literally checking all of them, you find out that you keep barely missing the guy. Then finally, you're told to go back to the inn where you started this whole thing. Once back, again, you just barely miss him. But at least you're given information about what he's up to. Edward is apparently seeking basilisk scales. Why? Well, only to make my life hell, apparently. Want to know why this makes my life hell? Because you, as the player, literally have to spend potentially hours roaming outside, forcing yourself to get into random battles, praying to Almighty God that you happen to run into a basilisk, which happens to be a very uncommon monster to encounter, hope that once you defeat it, it will drop a basilisk scale, and the worst part about it is you have to accomplish this 5 times. 2 weeks later, and yes, we finally got the last scale. The innkeeper allows you to sleep there free of charge. Oh, thanks. At least he knows my pain.
The next morning, it's announced Edward has returned and it's him. Edward Morrison, the ancestor of Trinix Morrison. Mint, Kless, and probably the player are caught in shock as they do not see this coming. The party finally talks to Edward, enlightening him in their state of affairs. Edward is eager to help, yet is flabbergasted by the fortune brought to him. However, he, Archie, and Clarth find Clint and Mint's current disposition odd. After the heart-to-heart, Edward advises the team to gain permission from Lungrum to enter the forbidden forest of Yamir, which is the residence of the elves, as only they would know a sure way to fix the ring. He then asks if you and your team would be willing to help in the upcoming war against Daus and his army, as the kingdoms would need all the help they could get. It doesn't take long for you all to decide yes, and then Edward leaves. But wait!
No longer able to contain himself, Kless finally confronts him and gives him the details of what happens 100 years in the future.
Kless shows proof of Morrison's descendant, encouraging Edward to continue his time-traveling research. However, it's not a good idea to know too much about one's destiny. You get the idea. So at any rate, you reach the Ymir Forest and... oh, this is good. It turns out the elves are all wise, in-depth in arts, and incredibly racist jerkwads, whom get extreme prejudice against half-elf beings, for being, quote, unclean. And considering how long we've been hanging out with Archie, well, we can't say that's entirely inaccurate. I kid. I love Archie, but man, these guys are hardcore. If even one rule breaks in their territory, you get the immediate death sentence. Regrettably, this means Archie is out of the party for the time being.
When we do finally make it to the village of the elves, well, take my word for it, it's a trek not worth remembering. We speak to the village leader, Brambard. What's with these names, man? Who further details that we'll need to talk about fixing the rings at the Black Slate, which is located at the end of the forest Heimdale behind the village. While he could very well lead us there, instead he decides to say, what the hell, I'm gonna with these guys, and he just says, follow the animals, they will be your guide. Bullshit! In other words, he just basically said, get your ass lost in the woods for hours until you manage to find me again. Son of a bitch, I hate elves. With their long ears and cockiness and racist and where do I go? I'm fighting trees again! Okay, finally we found him. It's revealed that the Black Slate hones the power of another spirit called Origin, which means creation. Said to be the king of all of the elemental spirits. This slate apparently is truth of his very existence. And fortunately, his power can be manifested through it, and also be used for recreational purposes. Which means, conveniently, for our pact rings that are broken. Luckily, it works. And we get the Moonstone. Unluckily, we now have to get out of this forest the same way we came in! No! Yes, we're out! Upon returning, we found out that Archie got the bright idea and tried to sneak in, and, well, she ended up getting caught. And it's here that we find the elves aren't very lenient at playing nice, so she's about to be put to death. Damn, guys. Chill out. But before the axe down is brought upon her neck, her mother actually comes out of nowhere and pleads that she be forgiven and let go.
Please, wait! Please, just this one time, I beg of you, overlook this incident. If you must have an execution, please take me instead.
We will overlook the incident just this once.
Mother! Please, just let me see her face one more time. I'm begging you.
Damn it, I told myself I wasn't gonna cry!
Don't be afraid to let tears roll, man.
Unfortunately, you do never figure out what becomes of Archie's mother, or never see them interact again.
After that melodramatic scene, we're now on our way to the Tower of Zodiac, located between Freylin and Midgard. Now, this was the part that we actually got lost. You see, we wandered around the desert to the forest, sailing the sea on our charter boats for about a half hour. Then we looked up a walkthrough on GameFAQs to finally find out. And for the biggest Tales fans in existence, that was quite embarrassing. So we arrive, without any outside assistance, to the Tower of Zodiac. Here our mission is very simple. Find Luna. No, not that one, this one. And to do that, we all need to be completing a musical puzzle which will last for 6 floors. This has got to be the most confusing dungeon in the whole game.
Now, we have seen puzzles and dungeons that force you to think, but this one right here takes the cake.
It is unique because it requires you, nay, relies on hoping that you own the soundtrack to this game, or at the very least memorize the sound test. Oh, by the way, you also have to deal with random battles, and the sudden realization that the holy bottles don't last long. Puzzles like this really confuse me. You can manage to look on the back of the CD case for the answer. What kind of sadistic mind would make you do such a thing? Finally, we reach the top, and this is Luna's fairy attendant Artemis. Artemis plays tough guy and tries to get a kiss, but sadly gets cock-blocked by Luna, who interrupts and demands our audience. And whoa, hello hot stuff. In a shocking turn of events, Luna understands how we need her power, so she joins the pilgrimage with no fight. Really? No fight?
I don't know what possessed us to look at this spirit right in the eyes, without saving our game for over an hour, and just ask, why?
Truth is, she hates fighting. Ironic, but whatever, onward.
Now that we've got Luna on our side, we head over to Midgard to reunite with Edward, along with the commander of the army named Ryzen. Awesome name, bro. He lets you know that all of you are regarded as brave heroes whose skills match the rest of the army. The King of Midgard then welcomes you to fight alongside their troops as the Demon King Daus has physically attacked the city and is declaring war on the humans. After the meeting with the king, the party then overhears what could be vital information about Daus. Something about him having given an ultimatum to Midgard prior, and he wants them to cease and desist any further acts of whatever it is they seem to be doing. Interesting. Before leaving, our team is then shown the laboratory under the castle, where it's shown that they're working on a brand new piece of technology that will shape the future and the human's ability to control magic. Enter the term Magitech. How it works and what it will do is kind of unclear at this point, but most people remain optimistic about its uses.
It's only at this part of the game that Kless, Mint, Archie, and Clark finally start putting to question what exactly are Daus's motives. I mean, sure, the guy is ruling a hellish-looking castle with a horde of demons serving his every whim, but there's gotta be more to him than just wanting world domination, right?
Well, it turns out there just might be. After trying to put the pieces together, Daus at this point has only assaulted 2 civilizations, indirectly as well. And though he had possession of the Prince of Alvanista, he could have torn the kingdom apart from the inside, but chose not to. But why? Knowing that Midgard may present some kind of threat to Daus, the party considers the possibilities that Rhea Scarlet's parents might have been involved some way, since they were directly killed by Demeter, whom was also a puppet of Daus's. Seeking answers, Archie suggests that they talk with her father Bart, since he lives near the town that was destroyed by Daus. And he just may happen to know something. Astonishingly, he does know something, and he reveals that Rhea Scarlet's parents used to live in the city of Midgard. Having learned that, the game offers a little bit of mercy in jumping you back to Midgard Castle, where it looks like Shin apparently went down while you were gone.
Of course, because it was so pivotal and couldn't wait. We're at the brink of war, and all of a sudden we had to go across the world to see Archie's dad to learn something very minor. Yeah, it's important when you find out later. But really? No one really considered that this might now just be a bad time for this? I guess at this point we should still be thankful that the kingdom is still standing after that little trip. Because why the hell not one of Daus's minions wanted to draw first blood and kidnap a child and is now holding him hostage with Morrison at the helm?
Morrison, what is this?
You, Morrison, and those 3 over there.
Everyone, I want you to watch carefully.
Ah! Morrison!
My only regret is that I won't be able to finish the research myself. Don't try this at home, kids.
No!
And that's it. He's gone.
We will defeat that bastard. And then, we'll put an end to all of this.
Ryzen, along with the team captain, plans out the all-out attack strategy on Daus's castle. We designate Clark captain of Special Forces Unit 4.
Tales of Phantasia sets this up as one of the most important parts of the story. And as it should be, because this is the war. Valhalla War.
It's this very war that started putting the course of history in the route it took. Because of the team that we now have via Kless, Ment, Archie, and Clark, due to the time travel and plot interference, changed the course of history. We own a Pickford that you all remember from episode 1 when we mentioned how the first half of the original script centered around her and her relationship with Daus, as well as the conclusive war she took place in, along with her own team similar to the present one. Included Edward Morrison, who wouldn't have died at this time because even though Wyona's story wasn't told here, Edward definitely was involved in the final battle with Daus when the Demon King was sealed.
You know, it's this confusion that really deters a lot of writers to keep away from the whole time travel mythos, because no matter how well you try to put it together, there's always going to be some form of plot hole that you can find somewhere in its cogs that will unfortunately rip the whole story apart.
Yet, given Phantasia's credit, though it majorly cut the script as we mentioned an episode ago, it still managed to tie up the loose ends by not leaving many questions. The different story arcs and histories were kept very well grounded, although this might have been accidental if not entirely intentional. Meanwhile, back in the Valhalla plains, days go by as you slaughter through the hordes of monsters. It's made to note that you have a certain number of days to find the boss. Well, and fortunately for us, we've never exactly failed this mission. And unfortunately, we can't answer if there really is a way to do so or not, or if anything happens if you do. It's one of those things you really just don't want to risk. Anyway, after taking down the general of the demon army leading the onslaught, Kless and the gang return to the King of Midgard, where they are praised for their heroic efforts and rewarded handsomely with 50,000 big ones! Oh, awesome! On a sad note, the celebration is cut short as Daus is a sore loser and sends a literal fleet of flying demons and dragons. Shoot, man, where the hell does he get all this stuff?
While it looks grim for Midgard, what with the evil pretty long-haired boy sending a weapon for an all-out attack, Midgard has a secret weapon in their own called the Mana Cannon, located at the top of Midgard City, which when used, uses an extensive amount of life energy from the planet drained in a stream-like flow, and charges the weapon firing it all at once. Hold on, wait a minute.
Well, we're not trying to say that Final Fantasy VII ripped off Tales of Fantasia. We're just trying to say that...
Final Fantasy VII ripped off Tales of Fantasia.
Oh, come off it! After all, it's okay. Namco got their revenge later.
The Mana Cannons seem to be doing the job of defending the city well, until...
He knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed, few people cried, most people were silent. Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Yeah, well, that could have ended better. Although the Mana Cannon almost did the job Daus planned to do, it did at least cripple him. Elsewhere, the cannon having used actual mana did more than destroy a lot of things. It heavily reduced the world's life force at an alarming rate that brought attention to the goddess Martel.
Back in Midgard, Daus's fleet is still desperate to bring on the pain, and things get a little interesting as out of nowhere, Shining Light once again starts speaking to Kless and then teleports him away from the team. Shocked as anybody else would be, Mint suddenly goes into a fainting spiral, and everyone else is in major confusion. It turns out that the legendary Valkyrie from her earliest game, being this long name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, has been trying to seek out Kless in order to get back the weapon Gungnir, that apparently he has no right to wield.
You think you're better than me?
Valkyrie discusses with Kless that Gungnir, the spear, belongs to the mighty Odin, and she pleads for you to return it to her. If you don't, well, then she'll just kick your ass and take it from you. Kless pleads his case, and humbly asks for her assistance in the battle over at Midgard, and then he promises to return it. Thankfully, Namco's Valkyrie is a nice on the eyes and attitude, so she agrees. Even more stunning, she allows him the aid of the mighty Pegasus, which means this is about to get freaking awesome! After the ordeal, Pegasus says his work is finished. Then he f***s off with the best weapon I've had up to this point.
You know, I hate it when games do that. They give you this awesome weapon, you're at the peak of your height of manhood, you feel like you can take on the whole world, and then, yoink! Just when stuff's getting real.
At least here I've got a party of people to help carry my slack. Just seems unfair. Before setting off for the castle, friends obtain Morrison's journal, encourage them onward, and with the indignation spell, which is another Tales of Series tradition.
The indignation spell is one of the most powerful in all the Tales series, but it's not OP. It does have a lot of historical use, and you can even use it in climactic battles.
Now that our work here is done, we arrive at Daus's castle to put an end to his evil reign. Once inside, all we can say is that the castle is all about puzzles, mazes, and more goddamn puzzles. I really don't like this level. Ah, Daus! We finally found you! We're going to put an end to all of this here and now! Don't tell me you lost your nerve.
Why do you point your sword at me? I have no reason to do battle with any of you.
Even if you don't have a reason, we have plenty!
Ridiculous. You must be pawns of Midgard, once again desperate to incite a war. I attempted to ignore their petty attacks, but they have finally forced my hand.
Daus! Get ready! Oh, Jesus Christ! God, no! Oh! Game over, man! Game over!
You have no idea how much of a save that was right there. I mean, that Daus laser is pretty much 100% game over inducing. I mean, well, maybe not entirely, but most of the time it is. If you do manage to survive it though, you'll be so close to death that he might as well just flick you.
Well, on a high note, we sort of defeat him. Truth is, he kind of just runs off to God knows where. So I guess you can say the war is won. Job well done, people. Puzzled on what exactly to do next, especially with Edward being, dead, Lundgren then tells our party of heroes that Edward left him an important letter and key to his study back in his mansion. The letter details of how they can find a way for Kless, Mint, Archie, and Clark to go forward to the present time period where Daus was resurrected. Edward's journal also details about an ancient technologically advanced civilization called the City of Thor, which apparently at one time had existed, but is now sunk to the bottom of the ocean. So basically it's Atlantis. The technology there was so advanced that they apparently had these things called machines that were capable of using time travel. They figure that with the power of the summoned spirit Undini, that they can travel to the bottom of the sea to find out just how much of this is true for themselves. But before they do, Mint brings up that the mana tree Yggdrasil...
Oh, that's right. That's a problem. You see, we almost forgot. We can't exactly go back to the present or the future just yet. Because as we had established early on, back in the present time, magic had pretty much no longer existed. Why? Well, clearly because the mana and all of the powers within it had pretty much wilted away. So before we even make an attempt to go back, we need to find the reason why it's seeping out and make every effort we can in order to stop it. So we can't go anywhere yet. We gotta save the forest.
Mint, bless her heart, gives it her honest-to-God best try. But simple Methodism tactics and healing spells aren't going to be enough here. Here is where a very somewhat cryptic part of the game comes into play. In order for you to continue the story and complete the game, a certain set of events need to play out. But unfortunately, it's not clear how many of them are optional, and online guides vary, and what people have experienced apparently differ drastically. I personally would like to believe some of these side quests are optional, as the game would have been unmercifully vague and would have made the Triforce hunting in the Great Sea and The Legend of Zelda the Wind Waker look like a cakewalk in comparison.
To begin the quest to heal the tree, you need to stay the night at an inn or any shelter, really, who triggers a dream where Mint is young, asking her mom for unicorn-shaped earrings. Instead, she gives her daughter her signature hat. That morning, Mint tells the crew about the dream she had and about the magical unicorn, with the ability to potentially heal the tree. No, not that magical unicorn. Well, possibly. I guess, but that's not important. This is the part that is inconsistent on where you have to go to truly trigger the next part of the story. In the village over, you can pay 1,000 to the band playing the music, and they'll tell you a little story about a white horse that only appears to pure maidens. In the next town, Phantasia, taking the ship to Alvanista will trigger a cutscene where Mint explains she believes a white unicorn exists, and that it might be the key to saving the mana tree Yggdrasil. The next place to go, maybe, is in the random house in the southern district in Midgard. A woman mentions the white horse too. How the hell would you figure any of this out? Jeez, another random entry. If you talk to the woman in the center of the North District, she too explains something about the white horse. And lastly, go to the mayor's house for no darn good reason, and even he's got something to add about the whole white horse not being able to be seen by adults. I again hope some of this is optional because, good God, you'd be here forever trying to figure this out. Can't imagine how this might have been before this whole internet thing. Now that is dealt with, if you head to the Valhalla Plains, where we fought that war earlier, turns out there is a snowy plain of woods nearby. Only pure maidens can see it, so Mint and Archie go along. To nobody's surprise, Archie admits that she won't be able to see the unicorn because she's a slut. But we love her anyway. Mint does manage to find the horse and explains the dilemma, because the horse can talk. Not the craziest thing to believe, but all hell then breaks loose, forcing Kless and Clark to say f*** it and charge in with swords swinging. Yeah! Suck it! Woo! Don't leave him alive! And oh crap, we killed the horse. Well, with its dying breath, it believes Mint's cries and turns itself into a magic wand because horses can do that. Shut up, yes they can. Meanwhile, after going back to Yggdrasil's mana tree, Mint tries her best healing spell with the unicorn, Horned Wand, and ooh, shoot.
That's all, folks.
Nah, that never gets old. No, but truthfully, they heal the out of that tree.
That's a nice tree.
Yes, it is. But you know what? Now it's time for us to go.
Go where?
Back to the future, maybe?
After curing the tree, and probably anything in a 50-mile radius, Clark summons forth Undine to take them all down to the bottom of the sea where the ancient civilization is located. Luckily, it was so advanced the city was kept perfectly intact. The people who lived there, though, not so much. While down here, it's pretty funny to see how Kless and the gang react to technology and the things that they find lying about. All of them are basically just entirely stunned by the City of Thor's design, and all of the intricate items that they managed to find, like ID cards and machines talking.
Wow, everything in this ancient city is so futuristic. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. Look at all of this, what they call technology. I mean, what is this thing? It looks like some kind of future telescope. Wow, the future must be an interesting place. And what about this? Some kind of person.
Put me the hell down.
God!
Ouch.
What about this? Looks like some kind of powerful weapon.
After accessing the inner doors and making your way into the city, this is another part of the game that would be considered a speedrunner's worst nightmare. The random locked door!
And we mean it when we say a speedrunner would hate this game. You're dropped off in a room with 8 locked doors, 8 monsters, and 8 treasure chests. The goal here is to find the key that's in one of the chests, and which door unlocks to progress. Sounds easy enough, right? Well, there's a catch. The key can in fact open 3 doors. One leads to the right path, one leads to an item box you won't need, and the third is the entrance you came in. If your luck is horrid, just like the Balselect, scale hunting, you could potentially be stuck in this room forever. On top of this, you can either avoid or fight the monsters blocking your path, while also contending with the random battles that you will still encounter. After finding the right door, thank God, damn it.
The robots are attacking! Ah! What in the world is this? This device looks rather specialized compared to the rest. Whoa, what?
What the?
I am Oz, the great and powerful. Who are you?
With introductions out of the way, the operating system acknowledges the deaths of all its original inhabitants and names the team the owners of the network. Ah, cool. From there, they tell the computer to return all power to the city, and suddenly it raises itself out of the sea. Yes, we're doing wonders for the space-time continuum with this act. After power has been fully restored, it's time to go. Time machine activated. Set a course for the present year in the inner sanctum.
I bet Dallas didn't see this ass whooping coming.
Ha-ha! On guard, you vile heathen! Come and get some! Yeah! This is how the Tails heroes do it! Yeah! Come on, get some! Yeah! Right up his ass! Get him! Knock him down! Beat him down! Spread on him! Scratch him! Pee on him! Yeah! This is how the Brotherhood of Gaming do it, bitches! We're the king of the Tails heroes! Beat down! Woo!
So Douse is defeated. The inner sanctum is crumbling. Chester and Morrison and Master Tristan are all okay, and all of them make it out safely. They've had some laughs, share some goodbyes, and Clarth and Archie are going to trend back to Thor so they can go back to their time, and all will live happily ever after. Or will they?
Oh, it looks like I made it. My name is Harrison. I'm from 50 years in the future. I've come by the orders of the king from Alvanista.
Back to the future.
Okay, yeah, just when you thought the adventure was over, nope! Turns out this is Act 3. This abrupt character's name is Harrison, a time traveler from the future who explains that Douse is back and is causing chaos in the future and that they need your help to put it into him once and for all.
Well, don't start what you can't finish, I guess.
The group decides it's far too early for them to say their goodbyes, and they all agree to help. Kless then offers for Chester to come along on the adventure. But Archie can't help but be her and comment about how weak he is because we spent more than half the game alone without him. So while we're all level 50 and up, he's still stuck at level 10. Chester responds by giving her the finger and joins along anyway. Well, here we go again.
Welcome to the future, and I have no jokes for it. Well, as it would suggest, technology has improved, and so has the population. And what used to be Kless's Totus village has now become the city of Miguel, named after Kless's late father. A couple of interesting things you can do here is staying the night at 2 places. one at the local inn so Chester and Kless can have a heart-to-heart cutscene late at night, which will jump up Chester's level by 10. He's ultimately saddened that he was left behind and feels worthless, so he's working hard to pull his weight. Gotta give Chester credit. He's trying. Also, if you go to the Sword Training Academy and stay there, you trigger a dream where Kless is admiring his father's swordplay, which can cause you to learn a divine Senshin move. Now that we got to a good start in the Futures world, let's head off to the city of Venezia. What's happening is Douse has apparently gotten so powerful and, well, mad at everything that it's unsafe to travel to Alvanista by sea because of the uncertainty. Harrison then suggested that if we won't be going by boat, then let's travel by air. Excited at the idea, our group and Harrison travel to Euclid to the Science Academy, which now stands in the area where Uncle Owen used to live before he sold me up the river. Nice to know they tore his house down and made something useful out of it. Enter the science nerd Stan Lee.
At this point, I wouldn't doubt it.
We're greeted but told unfortunately that the new flying technology being worked on is unable to fly right now because it's missing the power of one key component. And considering the summon elemental spirits that we all possess, I assume you can easily guess which one we don't have and which one they need.
Electricity? In the long run it's just more busy work for us to do. Although, I can't object to having lightning powers on my side.
Stan Lee continues to inform us that we will of course need the power of the summoned spirit Volt, who luckily happens to reside close by. Actually, he lives in the same exact cavern that Gnome used to reside in, but since this is the future, and we excavated Gnome centuries ago, the cave has been pretty vacant. Thankfully, our scientist manages to have the pact ring we need in order for Clark to tame the ball of lightning. Let's save time. You know how this goes. You go to Volt's new cave, find the bastard, and beat him into submission, and then he joins your party. After Volt's power has been applied to the flying machines, aka the Rhea birds, obviously named after Rhea Scarlet.
Oh my god, this is awesome! Wow!
Now that you have access to literally the entire open world, you can now take advantage of quite a few optional side quests. One in particular that's exclusive to the PlayStation version and up is obtaining a new character for your party. This lovely little ninja's name is Suzu Fujibayashi, a female ninja from the Hidden Leaf Village. Yep. You know where this is going.
In the back of Yamir Forest, or Trent Woods, whatever, Suzu will stand there and ask for you to follow her. It seems Kless and her friends are known well for all the adventures that they've been on, so the Okage of the village, aka Suzu's grandfather, asks you to take on a quest for them. Eager to listen, the party is informed that Suzu's parents may have defected and sided with Douse. This betrayal to the ninja lifestyle is treason, and they must take their lives. So instead of getting their hands dirty, they want you to do it. Oh, of course, my thirst of blood is never quenched, so I'll do it. The only way to find her parents are to fight your way through a tournament located at Euclid. After fighting them, win or lose, doesn't matter, Suzu will arrive and finish the job and thank you for your help. After that ordeal, Suzu will join your party. Kless gets an awesome ninja sword, and the crew gets to wash and engage in some hilarious nude scenes.
Suzu has some pretty awesome and interesting powers all of her own. And while being a ninja, she has things like shadow clone jutsus and stuff, so she's pretty fun to play as, actually. It's just kind of upsetting that you get her so late in the game, though. Meanwhile, back at the plot, we arrive at the castle in Alvanista to meet Harrison, who invites us to meet the king. Yeah, the newly appointed king. You gotta remember, we're in the future now.
The fuck? Alright. See you later, Spider-Man.
Once inside, we meet our old friend Lundgren, who's still alive. Well, I guess it makes sense because, after all, he is an elf. Those guys manage to live long periods. Lundgren and the new king bring us up to speed that Douse can freely move through time now, pretty much playing cat and mouse with everybody. However, ancient texts tell of 3 lands that used to exist: Odin, Fenrir, and Thor. Each one held a key that, when combined, summoned... heck, with all the elements that we've collected so far, I wouldn't doubt it. But no, in fact, when the 3 keys are combined, they form a single sword capable of manipulating time and space, which they believe could use to stop Douse from escaping any battle. Lundgren continues to explain that the keys consist of a pact ring from Thor and 2 elemental swords from a place of ice and fire. Fortunately for us, we had picked up a ring from Thor early on, so we technically already have the item that they're speaking of. Like before, the researchers in the King's Scholar Lab were able to identify the whereabouts of each place that we need to go to, which means all we really have to do is go to each one and obtain the key, probably through a puzzle-based level, of course. So on our way to gather one of the keys, our first stop is the town of Friezekiel, where it's noted that the first key, dubbed the Vorpal Blade, is waiting for us. But apparently it's not advised to head into this cavern without stocking up on a few items. And hell, since we're in the future, we might as well get some future technologies to help us out, you know? Things like apple gels, life bottles, and your frigging lightsaber! Oh, hell to the friggin' yes!
The darn lightsaber costs an arm and a leg, but you know what? Shoot, I don't care. This Doubts war will be over in 10 minutes flat. Everybody should just stock up on these. You'll never see it coming.
I got some good news for you, stranger. Brand new sword. Just came in from a galaxy far, far away. Might be interested in it. Just be very careful. Don't light in here. Might be very dangerous.
Once inside, to take on the Temple of Ice, you will find that it's quite annoying, as the freezing cold will cause damage to your party unless you've got some special charms equipped to prevent it. You can purchase them and find them easy, so it's not a big issue. The temple is just kind of a chore, with switches and lots of paths to take. At the end, you'll meet a Fin Beast, who guards one of the legendary artifacts, the Vorpal Sword. He basically is like a giant black version of a Wampa, and I think we all know how this ends.
Once the Vorpal Sword is obtained, we then go to the Tower of Fire, where we do the exact same thing.
It's just as annoying and difficult, with environmental hazard draining your life, but now instead of chilling ice, it's blazing hot feet. At the end, you meet Flamberge Fireblade. She challenges you to a fight, and if you have any common sense, you will have equipped every ice-related weapon in your arsenal, which results in the fight ending quicker than a snap. You're rewarded with both blades. After leaving these temples the way we came in, sadly the game isn't lenient on teleporting us out like in Zelda.
We then find out that the Summon Spirit Origin will forge both blades together, creating the almighty, all-powerful, Eternal Sword. In short, the Eternal Sword is the Master Sword, the Excalibur of the Tales franchise. Having been used and seen in most of the Tales games, plot-related or not, it's just kind of there. Now that we've got our ultimate weapon, the only goal now is to shove it up Douse's ass. So, where is the guy? Well, truthfully, nobody really has a clue. Well, nobody except Lundgren, at least. Talking to him once again, he believes that he might be somewhere around the city of Early. But why exactly? I mean, that part of the world is only just blanketed by complete darkness and is never allowed to see the light of day and is constantly on guard against hordes of demons that traverse and appear there, as well as night terrors.
I don't exactly, see the connection here.
Once you arrive there and stay at the local inn before treading off to the final battle, wherever the hell that might be, the game has probably its most highlighted romantic moment. Kless and Mint share a moment in the alleyway where Mint reveals that she knew all along that Kless was protecting her from the truth of her mother's passing. While Kless and Mint continue to have their moment, Chester and Archie finally start warming up to each other, and they decided to have a little time of their own. And by time of their own, I mean stalking Kless and Mint to see if there's any porn action going on. Suzu is on top of the house, reminiscing about her parents and what she should do in the future. And Clarth, our old fogey in the game, decides to use the power of the Eternal Sword to peep back in time at his woman, giving an all-new meaning to the word creeper. I know using the sword to see your love from another time is supposed to be romantic and all, and I can totally accept that, but can you imagine how ill-timed this could be?
Eternal Sword! Show me what Chun-Li is doing right now! Eternal Sword! Show me what Lara Croft is up to!
Don't you think you've seen enough?
After all of the romance is over, and that night, or day, or hell, this place only ever sees night, it could be high noon for all we know. A soldier seeks us out and informs us that Daus's castle has been spotted high above the clouds. Kless's first reaction is the guard has been hitting too many shiitake mushrooms, but lo and behold, it turns out he's right! It's never really brought up to question why Daus has a floating castle above the clouds. Fortunately, though, the Eternal Sword manages to be able to take you right to it. Well, I guess that solved itself. Alright guys, here it is. The final confrontation. The battle to end all battles. The climactic ending. The... What the hell?
You want to know what happened? A fuck you trap. That's what happened. And it will happen every time. It's impossible to progress through this stage.
Unless you have some super secret emblem that will allow one character to cross the bridge while the others are transported to the dungeon room in the castle.
Now I know what you might expect. Well, that's okay. I'll just search the castle till I find the emblem and then pass through the... Oh, you poor fool. Turns out there's no emblems on the first stage of the castle. So if you don't already have one, you were screwed the moment you set foot one in the door. Guess what? The game makes zero effort to tell you where to get one either. Or that you need one at all. It's only because we told you you need an emblem that you would ever know to look for one. But even then, it's vague enough. So where do you go to get one? Maybe a secret dungeon, a lost level, a hidden boss. How about your local Starbucks coffee shop? And talk to a random guy who just happens to have found one.
Darius emblems! You need Darius emblems! How would you know that? How the hell would you know that?
After getting the damn emblem and going back to the castle, you can now pass through the trap, but once again, only one of you can make it through. And only now, as one character alone, you can find more Darius emblems for the rest of your party. So maybe after about an hour of going back and forth, and with, of course, more puzzles that would make Alundra jealous, we equip all the Darius emblems, manage to beat through the horde of demons, pass through the pool of blood. Oh god, that was sick. And that stuff hurts too. You guys want gore, you got it. Alright, finally, here we are. Daus! It's time we settled this once and for all.
So you've come this far. I'm impressed. All of your recklessness has paid off. You're known far and wide as heroes of legend.
I've heard enough. You're gonna feel the pain of everybody you trampled over.
Please, wait.
Mint, stay back.
What is it? After coming all this way, you want to beg for your lives?
There's something I want to ask you. You once said that you had no reason to fight us. Why would you say that?
Because none of you were related to the development of Magitech.
Why are you trying to eliminate Magitech?
Because Magitech consumes an extraordinary amount of mana. Therefore, I must erase every human who dares to pursue Magitech. But why would you go so far just to get rid of Magitech? Certainly Magitech's destructive power is terrible, but you're just using humanity as an easy scapegoat. The World Tree was already withering away before they were involved. The truth of the matter is, had I not destroyed Midgard, the Yggdrasil would already be dead. You would go so far just to protect Yggdrasil? What the hell are you after? I require mana for my own purposes. However, even if I were to tell you my reasons, you are incapable of understanding. I don't want to understand. After everything you've done, your excuses don't mean a damn thing. Excuses? Why should I have to justify my actions? What? You should be the ones apologizing for having the gall to stand in my way. Enough of this bullshit! Even if you had some reason, destroying life without a second thought, I'll never forgive you! Enough talk. You have stood in my way long enough. All that remains for you is to disappear. Let's go!
Gauss is now harder than ever and wastes no time trying to hit you with everything he's got. So you better not hold back either. Do not give him a moment to charge up his laser. Keep on striking. Don't let him move. What? Oh, the floor! This fight just went into outer space. Alright, man, it's not over. We're not going down. We're too hyped up to end this adventure. Nothing can hold us back now. Bring him down!
If you're living in a bubble and you haven't got a care, well, you're gonna be in trouble, 'cause we're gonna steal your air. 'Cause what you got is what we need, and all we do is dirty deeds. We're the space balls. Watch out. We're the space balls. We're the masters of space.
Hey, don't mess around.
With the space balls. Going cruising in a spaceship, we're so good at being bad. We'll destroy your little planet if you ever get us mad. We're mothers of the galaxy, you gonna scatter when you see the space balls. Watch out! We're the space balls. We're the masters of space.
Say what? Don't mess around.
With the space balls. Watch out! We're the space balls. Watch out! We're the space balls. We're the masters of space. Don't mess around with the space balls. We're so bad and mean. We make nightmares out of dreams. We're the space balls. We're the space balls.
With Gauss defeated, the Four comes back, and we get our final exposition explaining just what his goal was and what he was desperately wanted to accomplish.
Now, as we mentioned in the first part, the story was primarily all about Gauss from the get-go and his arrival from Darius Khalon and the events that played out afterwards. Kless and the gang really didn't become anywhere part of it until the third arc of the story. But, as you already know, because of time restraints, the team not being able to work well together while making the game, and technology restraints, forced them to cut it all up. So, Class and the gang became the primary objective.
So the question of was Daus really a villain comes into play and makes you think about it. All Daus ultimately wanted to achieve was to save his home world of Daris Karlon from possible destruction/extinction. To do this, he needed a great supply of mana from the Karlon tree, or Yggdrasil. With enough mana, a time called the Great Harvest would begin, and a mana world seed would be created. Daus would then use this seed to give life to his home world once again. Unfortunately, because humans discovered Magitech and were inspired to continue its creations, great flows of mana were being used at an alarming rate.
Now, with this happening, the mana seed couldn't flourish. Now, even though this would cost countless lives, in the end, all Daus wanted to do was save his home world. So, in a weird kind of way, you could say that both Daus and Class kinda had the same motivations.
Realizing this, the party knew what had to be done, and to cast a barrier spell around the Karlon tree so that the mana couldn't ever be abused again, which one day will result in the Great Harvest to come about. And sometime in the future, Martel brings the body of Daus from his resting place and converts him into the Great Seed, sending it off into the galaxy to create a new world.
Everyone has their final says and their final goodbyes, and Suzu stays behind in her future. Kless, Chester, and Mint return to their present timeline with an unwritten future. Knowing full well that Arche is a half-elf, they are certain that they will meet again. Unfortunately for Clarth, being a human, well, he won't have the luxury. So this really is his final goodbye. They all then use the Eternal Sword, returning back to their homes, with happy faces and strong resolutions. And that, my friends, is the story of Tale Phantasia, or at least what we know in its game form.
As a whole, though the working conditions of Wolf Team and all the people who are involved were constantly clashing with one another, truthfully, it's really amazing that even with the yearly drawback that this game had, that they were able to come up with an amazing game at all.
And from it spawned an ongoing series that millions still love and consider gaming greatness. The story isn't perfect, with a couple of plot holes due to the story being cut to accommodate the technology. And the linear motion battle system, which is still a fun, effective game mechanic, has gotten a little dated over the years. The levels can be long and trialsome, and the random battles can be quite torturous at times.
But at the end of the day, Tales of Phantasia will always be a great game in its own right. And this is just the beginning. But we hope you had a lot of fun following us on our adventure in episode 1. Everything Tales of Fantasia. I'm sure you're tired of it now. But this is just the beginning, guys. Be sure to check out www.thebrotherhoodofgaming.com for even more of our greatness, all categorized for your enjoyment. And we will try not to take nearly as long this time in delivering on the goods. And see you then. 奇跡だったか